Right, so a bit of a change of plan this week. I had actually planned to get out and do this video tomorrow, but the wind is forecast to come in pretty strong tomorrow, so I'm not going to get a chance to film in those conditions. So we've brought it a day forward due to the fact that I need to get this this bacon smoked today. So we're hot smoking a dry cure bacon that I've prepped last week. So let's just have a look at the recipe and the method on how we prepare the dry cure and dry cure the bacon itself. Right, so we're going to be dry curing this bacon. So let's just take a look at what we need for this. You also need about 3 to 4 days sort of prep time and curing time, depending on how thick the meat is. So let's just take a look at what we need to do this. So the first thing that we've got here is some Prague powder. So that's a combination of salt, nitrates and some colouring. I've got a little bit of maple syrup here, some pink salt. You'll need a small bowl. You need some cling film, and I've got some sugar. You'll also need a set of digital scales. These need to be, quite good, these, and weigh, up to 0.5 of a gram. And you'll need a bacon calculator, and I'll go through this a little bit later with you. Right, so working out the cure for your bacon, it's vitally important that you get this right, because you can actually give yourself food poisoning if it's not cured right. So here's my little disclaimer. Please make sure you know what you're doing first of all before giving this a go. It is really simple to dry cure bacon. I've never made any mistakes with it at all, as long as you follow the recipes. The easiest way to follow a recipe is by using a bacon calculator that you can find online. Stick the link to it below. It's basically something that will work out the curing salts, the sugars, the nitrates, depending on the weight of the meat that you're using. So what we'll do now is we'll get the meat out of the fridge. I'll go through the meat with you and what I'm using. We'll give it away, and then we'll work out what salt, what sugar, what nitrates we need to use for the curing. Right, so we've got a piece of belly pork here. This is, if you look at this, one end's quite thin. The back end is probably about 3 centimeters thick as well. So I'm going to need more cure on this end than what I'm going to need on this piece there. I've had the butcher remove most of the skin off this as well. So the first thing we need to do is weigh this piece of meat to find out exactly how much it weighs. So 682 grams, so we'll use that in the calculator in just a second. So this is one of the best calculators that I've come across, this is. So basically, looking at the top here, in grams, we're going to stick in how much the meat is weighing. So we'll put in 682 grams. So we're going to select EU because there's different regulations throughout the world on curing. The next here, it asks if we have the skin on or off, so we've got that off. The next thing we're looking at here is the percentage of nitrate in the curing salt. Prague powder has 6.25% of nitrates inside of it, I know that, and it's defaulted to that on here as well. The next thing we're going to do is we are just going to hit calculate. So once you hit calculate the cure, it will then tell you how much salt, sugar and curing salt you need as well. It takes into account the amount of salt that is in the curing powder as well. So we'll get all of those put into a bowl now. So that's telling me that I need 15.5 grams of salt, so we'll measure that out now. Okay, so sugar now, we need 6.8, but what I'm going to do is I'm putting some maple syrup into this, so I'm probably going to put about 5 grams into this. So we'll go 6. Okay, so I'm now going to round this up to 7 with the maple syrup. Really a bit too much in there, never mind. And the curing salt, we need 1.6. So that's roughly about there. So that's the curing mixture. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is just lay some cling film down, and I'm just going to keep that attached to the roll, and then we'll put the meat skin side up at first, and then we're just going to take some of the mixture and we're literally just going to just work this in. Now, like I said before, you're going to need more on the thicker bits, and it's quite important as well to make sure you get some into the sides of the meat as well. Okay, so we're just going to turn this over, and then we're just going to work the rest of this into the meat. Now this is going to act like a bit of a brine because it's going to draw all of the moisture out, and the Prague powder will actually colour the bacon as well into that sort of pink colour that we get on bacon. So that's pretty much all of the cure. I'm just going to make sure this is well rubbed in on the sides. There we go. So we're going to wrap this up now. Now I ain't got to worry too much about this becoming waterproof. This is going to drip brine out because I'm going to vacuum seal mine. So I'm just making this as tight as I can get it, and there we go. So there we go, that's all done. So that's going to hit into the fridge now for about 3 or 4 days, turning once a day, just to make sure that the brine is equally pushed through the meat. Right then, so here we are again. So we've had 4 days now, so the bacon's been curing in the fridge for 4 days. So we're going to get it out of the fridge now, and then we've just got another couple of bits we need to do to it before we're ready to smoke. Right, so what we need to do now is get it out of the package. We need to pat this down, get this completely dry, and we need to leave it for a couple of days to dry. So we'll get it out of the package now, and I'll show you what we're going to do. So the first thing that we're going to do is, after taking the meat out of the plastic, we're just going to run this under some cold water and just give it a wash, because there is still some bits of salt crystal on the back here. On both sides, just getting any of the excess cure off the meat. I'll just shake that, and then we're just going to lay that onto the kitchen towel, and then we're just going to pat it down on the sides, just everywhere, just to get as much of the fluid as we can. So I'll just turn that over now and repeat on the other side. Right, so this is not quite ready for smoking just as yet. This needs a couple of days now to dry out. You need to let this dry out to form pretty much a white layer over the meat. So this white layer is needed when smoking, because it will actually help the smoke particles to stick onto the meat. So you've got 2 ways to do this really, and one is sort of weather dependent. So if you're going to do this in the fridge, you need a tray like this with a grill on it, and then you'll leave the meat on the grill and then have that in the fridge and just turn it after a day, so that's going to dry out in the fridge. The method I'm going to use today, because it's January at the moment, it's not getting over about 6-7 degrees during the day. I'm going to hang this outside. It's a pretty windy day as well today, so that's going to give it a really good conditions to dry out. So I'm just going to stick a bit of string through the side of this and hang this outdoors for a couple of days. Right, so to get this ready for hanging, I'm just going to cut a piece of string, and I'm just going to tie an overhand knot on the string there, and I've just got a bamboo skewer that I'm just going to hook into the overhand knot. So I'm just going to stick this into the meat. It's going to be about 3 centimeters away from the edge and about 3 centimeters away from the top, so that in the wind it's not going to rip all the way through the meat and the meat's going to end up on the floor. And I'm just going to push that through and then just tie that off. And there we are, we're ready for drying. Right, so there we go. So bacon's all ready. So what we're going to do, we're doing this on the Anevay Frontier stove. So we're just going to get the Anevay Frontier stove set up, get it warm, and then we can start smoking. There we go, so that's all set up. I've got some wood prepped already, so we're just going to use some birch bark and some kindling just to get this fired up, and then we'll take a look at how we're going to smoke it. So there we go, so that's on the light, so we've just got some kindling inside of there, just got some bigger bits we want to stick in now. What we'll do is we'll have a look at the unit that I used to smoke it in as well. So this is the hot smoker. This came off Amazon. I'll stick a link in the description below to this. So this is cooking and this is smoking whatever you stick inside. Right, so inside you can see here you've got a top grill and then you've got a bottom grill. And then you've got a plate. Now this plate is quite important. So on the bottom of the pan here you've got this little rim here, so that's where all your sawdust goes, and then this plate will sit over the top of the sawdust, so that will stop any juice from whatever you're smoking falling onto the sawdust and putting it out, as it were. And then the bottom grill just sits on the top, and then the top grill will just sit on top of the bottom grill. So this sits on a stand, and the stand has 2 meth burners that sit on the bottom of it, which will heat the bottom of the pan up and heat up the sawdust. But we're going to use this on the Frontier stove today. Right, so we'll stick some sawdust in now. So this sawdust that we've got here, this is beech, and I've also put some juniper berries into this as well. So all we're going to do is just fill up that little rim. This will probably need refilling because the bacon's going to need about an hour and a half. And then that plate is just going over the top, and then the bottom rack, and then the top rack, and then you can lock the lid down by using the side clips, and you can also control how much smoke is coming out just by turning that piece there. So not quite hot enough yet, so we'll leave that 10-15 minutes. What we'll do, we'll just go get the bacon. Right, so there we have it. That is how easy it is to dry cure this. So this is all done. I think we're just up to temperature with the smoking now. So we'll stick that on the top, and that's probably going to need about an hour. But we'll keep checking up on that. So, like I said, this is going to be hot smoke, so this is going to cook and smoke at the same time. I have got a cold smoker that I like to use for this as well, but what I like about hot smoking this type of bacon is that you can cut big thick bits and refry as you need as well. Right, so we're about half an hour now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn the piece of meat over just to make sure that it cooks equally. Well, that's looking a lovely golden colour. Look at that. That is looking good. Right, so I think that's pretty much done now, so we'll take it out and we're just going to hang it and just let it rest for a little bit. There we go, full of bacony goodness. Just hang that on the side here for a bit. So there we go, hot smoked dry cured bacon. It's really easy to give it a go. I'll stick the recipe, the method and the link to the calculator in the description below. Please give it a go. Please feel free to comment below on anything that we've done during today's video, and we'll see you out on the next one.